So let's dive in today into the topic of why you've been getting into those toxic relationships and why you've been staying in them for so long. The first thing that I want you to understand is that we are a match to our patterns. But in no way does that mean that you actually deserve what happened to you. However, it means that when you choose a certain situation unconsciously, that something within you actually resonates with that situation. So, in order to break your negative relationship patterns, you need to change within yourself what is resonating with those unhealthy patterns. We make decisions based on what's familiar to us, what we believe is available to us, based on what we feel, and based on our beliefs about ourselves, our self-image, our self-concept, our identity. And those choices are made unconsciously when it comes to unhealthy and toxic relationships. They are not conscious choices. Those choices derive from what is in your subconscious mind. And there are some core beliefs there that actually keep you going into unhealthy relationships, or that were the cause for you going into a toxic relationship. The common root causes for going into a toxic relationship are believing that you are unlovable, that you're not good enough. So then when you start receiving attention from someone that you like, then you get a self-esteem boost. You don't make good decisions for yourself when you feel not good enough, because all your decisions derive from your core beliefs and the way that you feel. And the way that you feel depends on those core beliefs, on those predominant thoughts. And they come from your subconscious mind. The second common root cause is that happy, healthy relationships are not available to you or are not available in general. This can be a belief that got formed usually in childhood, when you may have noticed your parents or grandparents or any other members of your family actually staying into relationships that were not happy. Maybe you noticed cheating in the relationship of your caregivers or of people who you took as examples when you were growing up. So you believe that a healthy, happy relationship is not actually available. The third common root cause is the belief that you are not special enough. When you believe you're not special enough, you have a strong desire to be chosen. When you have this desire to be chosen, you tend to get yourself into relationships for the wrong reasons, blindly, simply because you feel chosen. So you're gonna rush head on into that relationship, ignoring all the red flags because you've got this need for love and acceptance. Now, what made you stay in those toxic relationships or in that toxic relationship? Because chances are that you stayed for too long, that you ignored red flags at the start, and that then you stayed, and the patterns there, the toxic dynamic became very familiar to you, and you found it very, very, very hard to leave. Bear in mind that it takes about 7 to 9 attempts before you actually manage to leave a toxic relationship. So here, in the reasons why you stayed, one of them that's very common is that you were probably a very sensitive person or an empath. So the fear of hurting someone who needs you is very strong. And it may be something that you learned in your childhood, that other people's well-being came first, or that somehow you were responsible for your parents' happiness or for your siblings' happiness. So then you prefer saying bye-bye to happiness rather than creating hurt. So when you have this deep fear of hurting someone who needs you, you often struggle to set boundaries, not only in the relationship area, but in any areas of your life. Then there's the fear of abandonment. So it is similar to the above, but the thought of being abandoned can be really, really strong and originate really from the depth of your subconscious mind. The roots are very deep, and the fear of abandonment can look like void, emptiness, or even death. So it's something very strong. Then there's the fear of being alone, which is similar to the fear of abandonment, but with it There is the belief somehow that being in bad company is preferable to being alone. And again, this is an unconscious thought and choice. You're not consciously thinking that, of course. Then there's a very important one as well, it's hope. And literally everyone who has been in a toxic relationship that I've been talking to, myself included, has held onto this sense of hope. What happens is that you try to create a happy ending with someone that is unsuitable because you did not experience the happy resolution you wanted in your childhood. So as an adult, you try to create this happy resolution by taking something bad, something unsuitable, and actually trying to make it different, trying to make the person change, trying to suddenly make it absolutely wonderful and what you've always been looking for. You're trying to get this happy ending, except that it always leads to disappointment because chances are the person just could not change. They didn't want to change. It had to come from them and they were probably unable to actually create change. So you hoped it will get better, but it just did not get better. So you tried to make someone unsuitable fit the vision that you had for your future, the vision that you had for your relationship. But it could never work because you were looking for that happy ending that came from a wounded place. And you know, this happy ending that you desire, it is absolutely available to you. It is not an ending. Obviously, it's a happy resolution. It's just a happy continuation. It is absolutely available to you, but just not with that person that you tried to make it happen with, because that wasn't healthy. So it couldn't match what you wanted. Then the other reason why you stayed in that relationship for too long is that some of your unmet needs were getting met in the makeup times. So in those times after a fight, argument, or even after abuse, where the partner was suddenly very loving and comforting and giving you reassuring words maybe, then some of your unmet needs were being met in those times and you begin to become addicted to those positive times, even if they happen only 1% of the time. Those unmet needs can be the need to feel loved, wanted, desired, chosen, special, connected, safe, even if you don't actually feel safe. These become what you're actually striving for. And all of those fears, all of those choices, again, they are not conscious. They are not coming from the frontal lobe of your brain. They are coming from the emotional part of your brain. Because when you are in a toxic relationship, or even worse, in a relationship with a narcissist, you are actually controlled by your amygdala. Your amygdala is the part of the brain that is the most activated in a toxic relationship. And it's in the emotional brain. So when you are living and experiencing your relationship through the amygdala, then logic just gets out of the window. Reasoning clearly, using your better judgment, that just completely disappears and you are unable to connect to any form of logic. The amygdala controls fear. That's the main emotion that it controls. So it is responsible for your survival. But in a toxic relationship, as it gets overstimulated, then you get stuck in a state of stress, fear, walking on eggshells, people pleasing, fight, flight, etc. So your nervous system becomes completely dysregulated and it becomes a familiar state for you to be in. The second main emotion that the amygdala controls is pleasure. It is responsible for securing pleasure. So you are starting to live for the positive time, for the rare positive times, for the makeup times. So here you can see that the amygdala really outweighs the logical parts of your brain. And that's why if family members or friends that were aware of the situation are telling you to leave, you're just unable to connect to this kind of logic. Even if the same situation was happening to someone you knew, you would absolutely be able to tell them, look, this is not right and you need to go. You can see that there were a lot of core wounds there that originated from childhood that actually led you to making those choices. And then when you're actually in it, there's an addiction that happens, there's something biologically addictive that happens, and that is actually stopping you from making logical, rational decisions for your highest good. But the good news is that you can change that. You can start changing your core beliefs, your predominant thinking, your predominant feelings, and that way, what's within you stop resonating with unhealthy, negative relationship situations. And instead, when you start really imprinting into your mind the belief that happy, healthy relationships are available, that you are enough and worthy and lovable for the most amazing relationships, then your circumstances, your outer circumstances are going to start to shift, and your reality is going to reshape itself so that it can match what's now within you. Remember that you are a match, an energetic match to your patterns, and they get to be healthy, positive patterns. And again, it's not about getting there at 100%, it's just about tipping the balance. So even if your core beliefs become 52% more positive than negative, you're already really, really on the right path. It's not about absolute, it's not about reaching 100% because we are imperfect, we're humans. I will see you in the next video. Sending you much love.